Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, March 2nd. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds today. Going back to cold, high 34. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 29. And then Tuesday, we're going to see a rain and snow mix in the morning. Showers in the afternoon, high 38. If you're walking out the door with us right now, you'll notice right away it's a lot chillier than it has been over the last couple days. 21 and clear in Brookhaven out on Long Island. It's 23 and clear in Englewood over in New Jersey. And it's 24 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Missiles and bombs continue to fly. Day 3 of the U.S. attack in Iran. The NYPD asking New Yorkers to keep their eyes and ears open. Lots of flyers stuck at the big 3 area airports today. The search continues for a Brooklyn kissing bandit, and a town in New Jersey wants to get rid of a no-good neighbor. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. No doubt you had your eyes, ears glued to the TV, WABC radio, online, watching the attack on Iran. The Pentagon confirming yesterday 3 U.S. service members were killed insofar in the war with Iran, the first American casualties of the operation. They occurred among American personnel based in Kuwait. And then President Trump releasing a video saying the military operation will continue, could be 3 or 4 weeks. He says maybe less. We got the supreme leader who we were aiming for, the Ayatollah. He was killed along with 40 other senior members of the Islamic Republic regime in the initial onslaught. At least that's what intelligence that's gathered is telling the Americans at this early hour. The number could be higher. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his country's strikes on Iran will increase even more in the coming days. And we're seeing, as we speak, a volley of missiles coming from Iran, hitting parts or trying to hit parts of Israel. Of course, we'll watch that as the morning moves on. This is all moving very quickly as the U.S. conflict continues to spread throughout the Middle East. Following this joint U.S.-Israeli strike on Iran, smoke is rising early today at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait.
The embassy is urging U.S. citizens to shelter in place and not to try and come to the building. While details remain fluid and the U.S. government has not confirmed direct hits on the embassy's structures, the warning underscores the severity of the threat environment. Regional air defenses have been active, intercepting hostile drones and missiles in Kuwaiti airspace as part of Iran's expansive retaliation for strikes on its territory. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump, taking to Truth Social, says members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard who lay down their arms will be granted full immunity.
The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands.
And the president, like he did on early Saturday morning, continuing to urge the Iranian people to seize this moment.
I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country.
Of course, at this hour, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on there. There were people celebrating in the streets. There were also people who were mourning the death. A huge rally of the Ayatollah. And the president talking about the U.S. deaths, 3 personnel likely as operations in Iran. He says those numbers could go up.
And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case.
The president saying yesterday that the nation mourns for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice.
As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization.
Now, what we were told is that members of Congress were briefed on this attack right before it happened. And as you might guess, there's people who are in support of it, people who are against. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton leading the Republicans who say the president making the right move in Iran.
I commend President Trump for making the difficult but absolutely necessary decision to join our partners in Israel to eliminate once and for all the threat that Iran's outlaw regime has posed to the United States for 47 years.
Yeah, Senator Cotton saying that Iran has gotten away with too much for too long.
Iran has been waging a campaign of terror against the United States and our friends since they took over the country in 1979. That started with holding American citizens hostage. We cannot allow them to have thousands of missiles that can hit all of our bases, not just in the Middle East, but in Europe, and also one day hit us here in the United States.
There was an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council over the weekend. The Iranian representative Amir Saeed Iravani saying that the joint strikes on his country violated Iran's sovereignty.
This is not only an act of aggression, it is a war crime and a crime against humanity. The justification advanced by the representative of the United States today are illegal and entirely devoid of legal foundation. This is nothing more than a deliberate attempt to mislead the international community and the U.S. public opinion and manufacture consent for unlawful war.
Now, the U.S. ambassador to Michael Waltz pushing back against that during this meeting, says the strikes on Iran meant to ensure the Iranian regime cannot threaten the world with a nuclear weapon.
Its refusal to abandon nuclear ambitions, despite diplomatic opportunities, presents a grave and mounting danger. American diplomacy was attempted repeatedly and in good faith. President Trump, Secretary Rubio, our special envoys, Witkoff and Kushner, were relentlessly dedicated to diplomacy.
And he pointed to the fact that he cited several UN Security Council resolutions demanding Iran suspend uranium enrichment. So he said that was why they had the right to go in there. And the Strait of Hormuz has seen shipping traffic heavily disputed after the launch of attacks on Iran.
Some oil tankers have turned around to avoid passing through the major shipping route that goes by Iran's southern coast. It comes as the Iranian Revolutionary Guard warned that no ship will be allowed to pass through the strait. In response, the world's oil suppliers as well as the owners of tankers have halted shipments through the narrow waterway that is critical for global energy supplies. I'm Lisa Carton.
And you might guess it's messing with the markets. We'll get into that in a moment. We'll get into the world's response to this attack and what it means for New York City. WABC News Time 509, the world watching this all very closely. The attacks in Iran. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says Iran has been a major problem for years. Now, initially over the weekend, they were pushing back against this attack, but the Prime Minister softening some of his statements yesterday.
The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes, but we have long been clear. The regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent. Over the last year alone, they have backed more than 20 potentially lethal attacks on UK soil. So it is clear they must never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon.
Then you had Pope Leo, who went yesterday at St. Peter's Square during his normal talk to people there. Pope Leo says he's deeply concerned over the escalating spiral of violence in the Middle East. Speaking to this crowd, St. Peter's Square yesterday, the Pope made what he called a heartfelt appeal to the parties involved to assume moral responsibility to stop the conflict before it becomes a mess. Referring to the U.S.-Israeli airstrikes on Iran and retaliation that followed, the pontiff said that stability, peace are not built through mutual threats or weapons. And then, of course, lots of response here in the city across the country. You found some demonstrators expressing their support for the Iranian people during a protest, or do you call it a protest if they're in support? Well, during a moment in Washington, D.C. yesterday.
Every day that this rescue operation did not happen, this regime, the Islamic Republic, was murdering innocent civilians.
That was a group of people who were waving Iranian, American, and Israeli flags in Washington yesterday. Here in the city, you had Mayor Mamdani criticizing the attacks.
Mayor Mamdani called the military strikes a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war of aggression. He accused the joint operation carried out by the U.S. and Israeli military of killing civilians and opening a new theater of war in pursuit of regime change. Mayor Mamdani notes he's in contact with top cop Jessica Tisch and he's evaluating beefed-up patrols. He says to Iranian New Yorkers, "You're part of the fabric of this city," and he adds, "You'll be safe here." James Flippin, 477 WABC News.
And coming up after 5:30, we will hear from some of the Iranian New Yorkers who took to the streets, some of them crying when they heard the Ayatollah had been taken out, crying because they were happy. We'll hear from that and from some of the anti-war protesters who took over Times Square. That coming up after 5:30. In Washington, you had the senators, Congress speaking out. Senator Lindsey Graham praising the efforts of the president amid these strikes.
I am a big admirer of Ronald Reagan, but I'm here to tell you that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is the gold standard for Republicans, maybe any president, when it comes to foreign policy.
South Carolina Republican speaking on Fox News yesterday saying that he feels President Trump has finished what former President Reagan was unable to do, take on Iran.
And it shows you how desperate Iran is to have to rely upon Hezbollah. We have a chance here not only to take the mothership of terrorism down, Iran, we also have a chance to eliminate one of the most lethal proxies in the Mideast, Hezbollah.
And he's asking Lebanon to get on board with the U.S. and Israel.
Here's my message to the Lebanese military. I'm watching everything you do. Quit double dealing. Quit double talking. Join the fight. Free your country of terrorism, and if you don't, you're going to pay a heavy price.
Now, we can tell you that Hezbollah has shot rockets into Israel today. Israel has fought back, dropping bombs in Beirut. And then you had California Senator Adam Schiff taking the other side, taking aim at President Trump after these strikes. He spoke on ABC this week. He says there's no basis for the attack. He says there were no imminent threats to the U.S.
But the president has made no case to the American people. He sought no authorization from Congress. We need to return ASAP and take up a vote on the War Powers Resolution. We have unleashed factors in the region now that we cannot control. If the Iranian people do rise up, as the president has called upon them to do, maybe they're successful. Maybe they get slaughtered in reliance on the president's implicit promise that we will be there to help them.
Now, all across the country, we saw these large demonstrations, hundreds of people carrying flags of Israel, the U.S., Iran marching from the White House through one Georgetown neighborhood yesterday. That raucous group made up of exiled Iranians who say they hope maybe now they'll be able to go back. Israeli and U.S. supporters taking to the streets. That was here in New York, Los Angeles as well. This individual, his name is Babak Bazedi, and he's with a group in the Iranian community who says he wants to see the Iranians overthrow the government, and he says he wants to go back home.
Certainly you don't want your country to be attacked. From the other end, there's no alternative to this.
Yeah, okay. More from him.
Iran could be one of the richest countries. But right now you have like over 70% of people below poverty line. This is what this government has done to them.
Yeah, so he says it's time to overthrow them.
Iran has 90 million people. 64 million of them are under the age of 44. has 118 years ago, they had a constitutional revolution. So they've had a lot of modernization happening.
Yeah, and then you had some anti-war protesters here in the city. There was people in Times Square says that the U.S. should have never gone into Iran.
We're not going to waste a whole generation of Americans fighting on the other side of the world and in the end accomplishing nothing.
The vast majority of Americans do not want yet another endless war in the Middle East. And so we are out here to let the people of Providence know that there are people in their community who are standing against it.
And then you had local leaders here in New York. You heard from Mayor Mamdani, but others were speaking out over the weekend yesterday.
Governor Hochul says while there are no credible threats at this time, New Yorkers should remain vigilant. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill cited her background as a former naval officer who served on the House Armed Services Committee in Congress and said, "I know how seriously we must take any decision to use military force and that law enforcement will increase patrols at sensitive sites." New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani called the military strikes on Iran an illegal war of aggression, adding Americans don't want this. They want relief from the affordability crisis and peace. I'm Lisa Salvati.
Okay, so here's what we know so far, and this is going to change drastically during the course of the day as this war continues. The President Trump, saying this war, this attack against Iran could last up to 4 weeks, or it could be less. He's not going to show his hand. The death toll so far: U.S. soldiers killed 3, 5 were injured. On Sunday, U.S. Central Command said that 3 U.S. soldiers had been killed in action, 5 seriously wounded by Iranian attacks. Now, in Iran, these are the numbers from the Iranian Red Crescent Society. They say 201 killed, 747 injured. They said the deadliest of those incidents was in an elementary school that was hit, where 148 people were killed, 95 were injured. In Israel, 9 dead, 121 injured. Late Saturday night, the first person to be killed was a woman in Tel Aviv, confirmed killed after she was hit by falling shrapnel. And then there was a missile strike in Beit Shemesh, which is a suburb of Jerusalem, where 8 people were killed and 20 injured. That number could go up as they were, a lot of people were seriously injured in that attack. And at least 40 buildings in Tel Aviv have been damaged by strikes over the weekend. All right, we're going to continue to follow this story all morning long. Of course, there's lots of other stuff going on locally and across the world, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, 5:17, time for a little sports check. Justin Ellick has the morning off, so in his place, here's Rhonda Moss.
The Knicks knocked off the Spurs 114-89, ending San Antonio's 11-game win streak. Mikal Bridges led New York with 25, says they knew they had to be their best.
You're a really good team, and you know you got to bring your A game, and the thing is, we're just trying to be the best versions of ourselves, and we keep getting better, no matter who's in front of us, and just try to do all the right things.
While the Bulls, over in February, used a 27-0 run to beat the Bucks, 120-97 to snap their 11-game slide. Pistons beat the Magic in Orlando. Thunder topped the Mavericks, sit a half game back at Detroit for the NBA lead. NFL, Vikings barring a trade have told running back Aaron Jones Sr. and defensive tackle Javon Hargrave they will be released later this month. And Tyler Reddick took home the checkered flag in the Duramax Texas Grand Prix to become the first Cup Series driver to win the first 3 races to kick off a new season. That's sports. I'm Ronza Moss.
Yeah, and the Nets, they continue to struggle. They lost to the Cavaliers 106-102 Barclays Center. Michael Porter Jr. led all scorers, 26 points for the Nets. Brooklyn has now dropped 8 in a row. They'll visit Miami tomorrow. The Islanders, they squeaked out a 5-4 win over the Panthers out in Elmont. Anders Lee, he scored the winning goal in the final minute of regulation. The Islanders have won 5 straight now. They visit the Ducks in Anaheim on Wednesday. In spring training baseball, Yankees took down the Phillies 5-3 in Clearwater. The Mets walked off with a 4-3 win over the Astros in Port St. Lucie. And that's sport. WABC News Time 520. Let's head down to Austin, Texas. A shooting at a bar there early Sunday morning, leaving 2 dead, 14 injured. The gunman among those killed. Austin police say officers were nearby, confronted the gunman who had opened fire at a backyard beer garden.
3 of our officers returned fire.
killing the suspect.
So 3 people, including the shooter, died at the scene. 14 others taken to the hospital, where 3 are in critical condition this morning. Police have not released a whole lot of details on this gun.
I'm very thankful for the speed with which our public safety officials responded to this. I don't think there's any question that it saved lives.
Yeah, EMS who rolled up on the scene say it was pretty bloody.
We had a total of 17 patients on the scene. 14 of those were transported to the hospital. 3 were pronounced dead on scene. Of the 14 patients who were transported to the hospital, 3 were in critical condition.
Now, federal investigators looking into whether this was an act of terror. It came after everything began in Iran on Saturday. Alex Duran, who's the acting special agent in charge of the FBI's office outside Austin, held a press conference yesterday. He said it's too early to determine a motive, but authorities found indicators on the alleged gunman and in the vehicle that indicate some connection to terror. 522, some stories, of course, just get buried by just this huge headline of the Israel-American attack in Iran. Former President Joe Biden was out and about. Well, boy, we haven't seen him in a long time. He was in South Carolina over the weekend speaking at the state's Democratic Party, talking about his he had that primary win all the way back in 2020.
South Carolina picks presidents. Not a joke. Folks, when it matters, you were there for me. You believed in me.
Yeah, he's been pretty quiet, right? During his speech, the 83-year-old highlighted several accomplishments from his time in office, including selecting Kamala Harris, who went on to become the first black woman to serve as vice president.
We have an expression in my home state. You go home with them that brought you to the dance. Well, you all brought me to the dance. You're my friends, and you brought me. I told you I was going to pick a woman as vice president of the United States of America, and we did it. We're going to take back the United States Senate as well. And folks, let's reach out to family and friends and neighbors. Let's help them register to vote. Let's help them show up at the polls. Let's make sure the vote is counted.
The president also says he's looking forward to the midterms. He predicts Democrats will take back both the House and the Senate. 523, NASA delaying the Artemis 4 moon landing attempt to now 2028. Here's one of the administrators there, Jared Isaacson.
Hardware development, whether it's in the landers or in the suits before Artemis 4, where we will attempt to land on the moon. We are also endeavoring to preserve up to 2 landing attempts in 2028.
So this news comes after delays with that test flight of the manned rocket set to circle the moon due to leaks and a fuel flow. I mean, the thought was they might do it as soon as March. So all this has been pushed back.
The American public deserves the update on Artemis 2 and the historic mission that's ahead, but you also have to know how we're going to achieve the vision that presidents have called for more than 35 years.
Yeah, of course, and they have to do it safely. 524, search for Nancy Guthrie continues, now more than a month old after the mother of the Today Show host Savannah Guthrie was reported missing. Thousands of tips have been received that have that $1 million reward from the Guthrie family themselves, offering anything in connection to the 84-year-old's disappearance. Authorities in southern Arizona say Guthrie was abducted from her home, but so far have failed to identify any potential suspects. She was reported missing all the way back on February 1st after missing church that day. 525, a civil trial against Bill Cosby set to get underway today in California.
Donna Motzinger sued Cosby, claiming the comedian drugged and raped her in 1972 when she was working as a server at a restaurant in Sausalito. Motzinger says she learned Cosby will not testify in the trial. In 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned Cosby's previous sexual assault conviction. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
While we're in California, two experienced skiers in Northern California likely saved a man's life after he became buried in snow at Palisades, Tahoe. They were skiing in expert terrain when they noticed a pair of skis that was just sticking out of the snow.
You okay? Oh, you okay? Hold on for a second. Can you get his skis off, dude? You okay?
They pulled this guy out of the snow. It's wild video. The two friends from Sacramento realized those skis were attached to a man whose body was buried in 4 feet of snow. Their video shows the man gasping for breath once the snow was removed from his face. Carson Smith tells CBS the whole incident is another reminder to ski in pairs. It comes after 9 people, of course, died in an avalanche in the backcountry north of Lake Tahoe last week. 526, sad day at the University of Colorado. The University of Colorado football team mourning the loss of their backup quarterback. Somebody with the Colorado State Police giving an update on a car crash that this quarterback was killed in.
He responded at about 3 a.m. to a one-vehicle, single-occupant fatal crash. The vehicle was a 2023 Tesla Model 3 driven by Dominic Ponder, a 23-year-old who was a member of the Colorado Buffaloes football team.
Yeah, so Dominic Ponder, they say, may have been driving too fast. They just don't know. They don't know if drug or alcohol was involved. They'll look into that as they do a deeper investigation.
Well, obviously, this is a preliminary investigation right now. We are not looking at factors, even though we will investigate it. The coroner will tell us more. But we do believe that speed is a suspected factor. We believe is that while it was trying to make a right-hand curve right on baseline right at Newland Court, that it just lost control.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, March 2nd. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Colder than it has been the last couple days. Sun and clouds today. The high will only be 34. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 29. And then tomorrow we'll see a rain-snow mix in the morning, then showers in the afternoon, high 38. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 21 clear in Brookhaven out on Long Island. It's 23 and clear in Englewood over in New Jersey. And it's 24 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:40. All right, let's catch you up. Everything we know so far with the war that is taking place. Of course, things changing, moving very quickly. The Pentagon confirming that 3 U.S. service members have been killed in the war with Iran. The first American casualties of the operation occurred among American personnel based in Kuwait. Last night, the president releasing a video saying the military operation will continue until all of the objectives are achieved and that more casualties are possible. In an interview with the New York Times, some other newspapers yesterday, he said it could take 4 weeks or less until this operation is over. And we know that the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, was among those who have been killed. About 40 other senior members of the Islamic Republic regime in that initial onslaught that took place early Saturday morning our time. But intelligence is still gathering more, so they're not sure what the hard, firm number is. And in Israel, you have the prime minister there saying his country's strikes on Iran will increase even more in the coming days. And then, of course, lots of reaction locally. We have to keep our eyes and ears open here in New York City as we're always a target. Police continue to step up patrols here in the city, urging New Yorkers to remain vigilant amid the ongoing security concerns following the attack on Iran. The Department of Homeland Security says there's no threat against New York, but of course experts warn that could change. The NYPD, emergency management officials closely monitoring the situation. That is, New Yorkers say they noticed that patrols were beefed up across the city yesterday.
I've been walking around all evening today around the Upper East Side, around the Central Park area, and to be quite frank with you, it's been noticeable, but at the same time, it's been a good thing in the sense that I feel safe, I feel secure.
The NYPD says it's enhancing patrols at sensitive locations throughout the city, including diplomatic locations, the United Nations, outside synagogues.
To deter any would-be bad actor, whether it's a lone wolf type of person who's inspired by what's happening overseas and wants to take action here, or something that's more concerted or planned.
And the attacks could come in all different ways. They could be violent, bloody attacks, which, God forbid, they happen trap him here. But it was interesting here, this former FBI agent, Richard Frankel, he was telling ABC News last night that despite the heightened security measures, you should also watch out for cyber threats. He says the Iranians are very good at this. They're not the best. He says the Chinese are better. But he says the Iranians are very good at cyber threats.
Iran is very adept at the cyber hacking, either attempting or actually being able to break into some of the protected companies, water, gas, utilities.
Yeah, so he says be careful. In the meantime, it's just a matter of, if you see something, say something. And New Yorkers say, yeah, that's what we always do.
I always feel protected because of God. So that's what keeps me going and, in the back of my mind. So I hope the viewers understand that He's our ultimate protection.
Yeah, and more on this and New Yorkers' reaction from WABC's Liz Radabali.
An unattended bag caused some delays at the start of the Staten Island St. Patty's Day parade on Sunday. A Target bag was left near the stepping off point and pushed the start of the parade back a full hour. This, of course, coming as the U.S. and Israel carry out joint attacks on Iran in what's being dubbed Operation Epic Fury. The NYPD has boosted local security at sensitive locations in response. Someone later retrieved the bag and got hailed with heckles from the crowd. Police later determined there were no threats, so the parade went on just a bit behind schedule. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
And then there was this outpouring of demonstrations from Iranian Americans here in New York City who said they never thought they would see freedom back in their homeland. Hundreds gathering near the United Nations yesterday, ending up in Times Square, thanking the Americans for going into Iran.
I'm just so happy for the people there. I just want to be there, but I can't. But they're not alone.
And these demonstrators saying they hope there'll be and this could spark a seismic shift in leadership in Iran.
The person is killing my people for 47 years. America and Israel, they limited them.
When the government is over, they're going to join the people to be free.
Now, a lot of these people, a fair amount of them, they came all the way back from when the Shah was ousted and lived here ever since, and quite well, a lot of them. But many say, they would think about going back if there was somebody else in charge.
I personally cannot wait to go back to visit my country without fear of getting arrested, getting killed, getting tortured for not wanting to cover my hair. So I'm incredibly happy.
All right. In a moment, we're going to go over to the airports because flights you can imagine, are a mess because so many flights internationally can't take off. We'll get into that in just a moment, checking with some people who are stuck at the airport. But first, 5:45, a check of sports. My good friend Justin Ellick has the morning off. He's on vacation. In his place is WABC's Rhonda Moss.
Knicks knocked off the Spurs 114-89, ending San Antonio's 11-game win streak. Mikal Bridges led New York with 25, says they knew they had to be their best.
They're a really good team, and you got to bring your A game. And the thing is, we're just trying to be the best versions of ourselves, and we keep getting better, no matter who's in front of us, and just try to do all the right things.
While the Bulls over in February used a 27-0 run to beat the Bucks 120-97 to snap their 11-game slide. Pistons beat the Magic in Orlando. Thunder topped the Mavericks, sit a half game back at Detroit for the NBA lead. NFL Vikings barring a trade have told running back Aaron Jones Sr. and defensive tackle Javon Hargrave they will be released later this month. And Tyler Reddick took home the checkered flag in the Duramax Texas Grand Prix to become the first Cup Series driver to win the first 3 races to kick off a new season. That's sports. I'm Rhonda Moss.
Yeah, and the Nets, they continue to struggle. They lost to the Cavaliers 106-102 at the Barclays Center. Michael Porter Jr., he led all scorers, 26 points for the Nets. Brooklyn has now dropped 8 in a row, though. They'll visit the Heat tomorrow. The Islanders squeaked out a 5-4 win over the Panthers out in Elmont. Anders Lee scored the game-winning goal in the final minute of regulation. The Islanders have won 5 straight now. They visit the Ducks in Anaheim on Wednesday. And spring training baseball, Yankees took down the Phillies 5-3 in Clearwater. The Mets walked off with a 4-3 win over the Astros in Port St. Lucie. And that's sport. WABC News Time 5:49. The attack on Iran has created a ripple effect at the airports, the big 3 area airports. Multiple flights to the Middle East canceled all weekend long. And for many of these flyers, they don't really know when they'll be able to get back up in the air.
Then I was going back, then now sitting at the airport waiting for a new flight.
I feel what happened? I feel worried.
Most airlines offering waivers to passengers so they don't have to pay higher fees when rebooking.
I'm concerned about the safety of the airplanes. It's more just about how much awareness there is about certain military actions. It's concerning to me that we sent out hundreds of flights with U.S. citizens. Well, this was kind of a planned situation. That's crazy to me.
Now, the airlines say they'll do their best to get people back home, but of course, if they can't fly through it, they can't fly through it. Local leaders here in New York and New Jersey reacting to the U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran.
Governor Hochul says while there are no credible threats at this time, New Yorkers should remain vigilant. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill cited her background as a former naval officer who served on the House Armed Services Committee in Congress and said, "I know how seriously we must take any decision to use military force and that law enforcement will increase patrols at sensitive sites." New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani called the military strikes on Iran an illegal war of aggression, adding Americans don't want this. They want relief from the affordability crisis and peace. I'm Lisa Salvati.
The gas prices have been so low as of late. That may change as well because of what is taking place.
Nationwide, the average price of a gallon is currently $2.98, and the experts say it will go up a couple of cents as early as this week. It's not just because of uncertainty in the Mideast. Supply will also be low because refineries in the United States are in the process of switching to a more expensive summer blend fuel. Experts also warn that prices could spike if there are disruptions in shipping from the Persian Gulf. If that happens, petroleum forecasters say we could see a 10 to 25 cent increase in a matter of days. I'm Rob Martin.
Okay, so here's what we know so far. 3 U.S. soldiers have been killed, 5 injured. Sunday evening, U.S. Central Command saying those 3 U.S. soldiers had been killed in action, 5 seriously wounded by Iranian attacks. In Iran, these are the numbers from them. They say 201 killed, 747 injured, and no doubt those numbers will change. They say the deadliest single incident occurred in southeastern Iran where a military strike on an elementary school reportedly killed at least 148 people, injured 95. In Israel, 9 people have been killed, 121 injured, including a ballistic missile strike on central Israel's Beit Shemesh, which is a suburb of Jerusalem. That one killed 8 people, though they think the death toll will go higher there. And at least 40 buildings in Tel Aviv have been damaged in Iranian strikes since Sunday morning. I've been watching this morning as missiles have been lobbed over by Hezbollah over the Israeli border into Israel. Israel has responded. So, of course, we'll continue to follow this story all morning long. Make sure you keep it here, right here, 77 WABC News. 5:52. Let's bring it back home. Out to Long Island, just a wild chase yesterday. This was Mastic Beach, a man facing charges after police say he stole a U-Haul van and then led officers on a chase through 3 Suffolk County communities yesterday. Detectives say this U-Haul location in East Patchogue reported that one of their vans was stolen, and then police found the van and they attempted to try to pull this driver over, but he did not. Is identified as Gerald Matson. He fled the scene and drove pretty recklessly, driving wrong direction on Express Drive in Holtzville, where he was involved in a hit-and-run crash with another vehicle. Thankfully, nobody was injured in this crash, and eventually they caught up with him. Here was an eyewitness who watched some of this play out.
I see a lot of police cars driving around here, in the streets. It looks like suspicious guys. They're running, and they went inside that house, but the cop followed them.
Yeah, so after taking police on this chase, they eventually abandoned the vehicle in Farmingville. They eventually caught up with the 2 people who were one behind the wheel, the other passenger, and they're facing a slew of charges. And this same guy who watched it all said it was just kind of crazy.
I don't know if they live there. I don't know. I never see those guys here. I know the neighborhood here.
Yeah, so thankfully nobody was seriously injured, and the 2 men who stole the van, they're behind bars this morning. Over to New Jersey, where police say they've made an arrest in Friday's fatal hammer attack on a homeless person.
On Saturday, hours after the attack, Mamdani posted to X and called the attack on Iran an illegal war of aggression, adding...
That's obviously not the story. All right, a 42-year-old woman is dead, and her 16-year-old son have been wounded in a double stabbing that took place in the Bronx. Fox.
Police say it happened at about 6:30 a.m. inside an apartment on Sherman Avenue in the concourse section. The New York Daily News reports neighbors called police after hearing screams coming from the apartment. The woman was found stabbed in the neck and chest, while her son had been stabbed in the neck and back. Both were taken to the hospital, but she didn't make it. Her son is expected to survive. Meantime, police are looking for the attacker, who they believe is the dead woman's boyfriend, and that he changed into construction worker clothing before he fled. I'm Lisa Salvati in New York.
Cops putting out pictures of this total creep that they're searching for. They haven't been able to find him. A man wanted for breaking into a woman's home, forcibly kissing her. This took place late last week, about 1:30 in the morning. They know who this person is. It's 32-year-old Jason Williams, but so far they've been unable to find him. And the attack took place, or the home invasion, I guess, took place in Carroll Gardens.
It's very safe.
Really family-oriented. Like, you see families, walking around everywhere.
And of course, this kind of thing can happen anywhere. Police say the 43-year-old woman was asleep in her Carroll Gardens residence when Williams broke in, forced her out of her home, kissed her multiple times on the lips.
Where you think you should be safe, just like randomly and kiss, that's crazy. Where are you safe then? Like, what are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to go?
Yeah, okay, so police circulating pictures of this individual who's, I can give you how tall he is. They gave me that. 5'9", 200 pounds. He ran away from the home after the incident. So far, then haven't been able to find him, but I imagine it's only a matter of time. The Mets announcing their promotional giveaways for the upcoming season.
Meet the Mets, head for the park and greet the Mets.
You've got a replica 1986 World Series championship ring, a Juan Soto bobblehead, even a Bobby Valentine fake mustache disguise. In early April, a bobblehead of Gary Carter celebrating the 1986 win in Game 7 over Boston, a Jesse Orosco bobblehead also celebrating the big win, and if you're noticing a theme here, there's a Mookie Wilson bobblehead giveaway and a 1986 team roster t-shirt. All of it on the 40th season anniversary since the Mets won that championship, as fans in Queens are hoping it'll be less than 40 until the next one. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Yeah, good luck with that, James.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.